In the 12th hour, on the 8th day of August, 2024, something completely expected occurred. Netflix ruined another series.
Brother,
Where to even begin? I hyped up this season so much, making shorts about the trailers and the breakdowns of what we can expect, and I didn't expect to hate it, that's for sure. And okay, hate's a strong word. I don't think I really hate the whole series because I love the cast, and anytime they're on the screen together, it's worth watching. But the writing, what happened? I think everyone recognized the potential this season had, and by episode 2, I distinctly remember looking over at my girlfriend and being like, ooh, that episode was kind of cringe, but it's okay because there's so much left in the season. Oh wait, there's only 6 episodes, not 10? No, yeah, we're screwed.
oh no!
So why did they shorten it by 4 whole episodes, 4 hours of content that we could have used to answer so many questions that we still have that I will mention in this video? Well, I think first and foremost, like I mentioned, Netflix dropped the ball. Netflix just wanted to get it over with, and this season felt like pulling a band-aid off. And not fast, so it didn't hurt that much, but like slow, so you really feel every second of it. Beginning the season, I'm not always a fan of time jumps, but in this case, it works. Tell us where our characters are and explain, how they met up with Allison, or how the world has changed since Hargreaves Enterprises runs everything, or how Luther must have spent every cent and every last second of the past 6 years looking for Sloane. Are you not going to do any of that and just make them all really awkward? Oh, okay, cool. Before I get into the major plot holes and problems with the writing, the best parts of the show are when the siblings are all together and you hear their banter and the dialogue is actually pretty good, and all those scenes are really fun to watch. But there's so many points in this season where they break off into their own little side quests and don't get together till the very end. And the last positive thing I'll say is the community of diversity and acceptance this show has developed over its runtime will go beyond whatever pitfalls this season had, and hopefully eventually focus on just the positives we gain from this series. But now let's have some fun and get into some plot holes. One that I noticed immediately that I didn't see many people pick up on is the name Marigold. No one used that besides Harlan, who named the dust in his body Marigold, and then he told Victor. So Victor's the only one who knows, and maybe Victor said it in passing in season 3, but Reginald never heard it, especially not the new Reginald, and Reginald's wife also never heard it, but she also refers to it as Marigold. So how do any of the other 7, especially Reginald, know that it's called Marigold? Did they just forget that Harlan's the one who coined that name and only told Victor? Cause I felt like I was going crazy. But speaking of Marigold, the pixie dust that gives them their powers, massive spoilers here, obviously. Why did they all need to die if they can live without it? So we see for 6 years they lived without Marigold and there was no problem. And then eventually when Ben spiked their drinks and gave them back to Marigold, they all had to die to save the timeline? Not sure. You could say they were born from it, they don't have like dads, so it kind of broke the timeline like they said in the show. But the only solution being to sacrifice themselves. Also, when there's 40 other children who have the Marigold, and you could say, oh, well, no, they reset the timeline, so no one else has the Marigold. In the subway station, when they go back in time, which is not a new timeline or is it a new timeline, and they see the Phoenix Academy, they have the Marigold, and the old 5 who was shooting at them in the apocalypse has the Marigold. So don't they all have to sacrifice themselves in every timeline, not just the one that we're in? Because what makes ours the original? Sure, we can say it's the original, but when you enter the multiverse, like every show wants to do nowadays, you open this can of worms of questions that you just can't answer. I also think a better ending would have been Victor draining the Marigold from his siblings, which we know he can do, and then sacrificing himself to start a new timeline for them, which would have been more meaningful and they would have been able to survive and honor Victor's legacy and his sacrifice, but they didn't do that. And another massive plot hole, how Lila and Diego's and Allison's kids would survive in this new timeline. Would this not create another grandfather paradox since their parents never existed? No, they didn't die. They never existed. How are they alive? How'd they get out of the subway? Are all the 5s who were in the subway also alive? Or did they cease to exist? So why did the kids survive and somehow end up in a new timeline? Ugh, I'm thinking about it more than Steve Blackman did, aren't I? Since neither of us want to be here all day, I'm gonna speedrun some more plot holes and questions I have that were never answered. Why and how does Jennifer have Durango? Why was she in a squid? Did we forget that Reggie and Abigail are aliens? Why are they on Earth? What kind of aliens? What's their origin? Is their planet also going to get reset in the timeline? Or is it just Earth? Looks like the cleanse is just going to kill Earth. Are doppelgangers themselves in their past timeline or alternate ones? Because we see when 5 sees himself in the apocalypse, he has the same things, he farts. But when there's 35s in the diner, would there not be a room full of farting, sweaty, itchy 5s? I mean, they just totally disregarded the whole doppelganger thing. Actually, in my opinion, the biggest plot hole is that you're not subscribed yet, so just do that now. Okay, cool. And finally, why was Luther so okay with just forgetting about Sloane? Okay, that was a lot. Take a second, breathe, and let's move on to the new powers. So after Bang gives them Marigold and they get their powers back, some of them change. Not all of them, and it's never explained why they change. First off, Allison never says "I heard a rumor," her iconic power. And sure, you could say, oh, now she just controls people's minds by looking at them. She only does that once. She doesn't rumor the biker to tell her where Klaus is. She just bursts his balls, which funny, sure, but it could have been so much easier. Lila also has laser eyes, which she uses 3 times in the entire series. Another problem that is also a plot hole is Luther's body, going back to its gorilla shape. The director's not even watched her own show. I mean, he doesn't look like that because of his powers. He looks like that because of the serum Reginald gave him to save his life. Also, Klaus flies, then dies. So sad. But let's say we're given the same season. There are slight changes they could have made to make things so much more meaningful and memorable. Like, for example, when Klaus was buried alive, he tries to get his drugs, but he can't reach them, so he doesn't take them. How about you let him reach them and decide not to take them, and realizing he doesn't need them, and he's okay with his power, and he's doing it for Claire, and for Allison, and for himself. Not just because he can't reach his drugs. Or make the reason that Luther squats in the house and isn't doing well for himself is because he spends every last second of the last 6 years looking for Sloane and all of his money going into the search for her. But we all know what you're waiting for, okay? Fucking Five and Lila. Why would you do this to us, Steve Blackman? Why? His reasoning basically boiled down to, oh, well, Five now has an 18-year-old body, so we might as well give him a love interest, but he's not the kind to go on dates. So let's just set him up with Lila for some reason, because they're so similar. So it's a perfect match. Sir, they hate each other. They're basically siblings, and she's married to his brother who he loves. Five spent 40 plus years constantly thinking of ways to get back to his family. He's rude and rough around the edges and pretends like their problems don't matter, but he loves them more than anything. And they end the series, not only Five not acting like himself, but Five and Diego hating each other. Diego dies heartbroken by Lila. They really tried to make this last scene emotional, and when I tell you, I cry at like literally commercials and like YouTube videos. It's so easy to make me cry when I watch media, and there wasn't even a single tear. And I know, maybe I'm in the minority, I know a lot of people did cry and get emotional in the ending of the series, but is that because the series ending, or because it was a good ending? Not only did this feel like a complete character assassination, but it was just so unnecessary. 7 years? Five was alone for like 40 plus years. Not to mention, he saw Dolores in the Apocalypse timeline. Are you telling me that boy's not running to Dolores right there and grabbing her and living the 7 years with her? Why force something that not even the actors themselves believe in?
I thought that they were joking because I was like, I literally laughed and I was like, haha. And then when I read the script, I was like, oh, they weren't joking.
The ending to me lost all sense of self-sacrifice and emotional maturity, and it seemed like they were strangers who died hating each other. But why could this have happened? A while ago, Steve Blackman, the showrunner, did face accusations that he was creating a hostile environment for females, and he also had a lot of misogynistic, sexist, and transphobic comments. Of course, he denied this, and who's to say if it's true? I mean, I wasn't there, so we'll never really know. But this season was rushed not only by him and the writers, but by Netflix itself. Going from 10 to 6 episodes is a crime, and is there a world where they could have made 6 episodes work? Sure, but it would be impossibly hard, especially with the time they were given to film and put the series out with the writer's strike. So I don't want to blame one particular person. It's just a shame that it turned out this way. But if you want another example of how rushed it was, look at this scene. They just left the whole camera rig in the back of the car and no one caught that. Now, is it the worst thing ever created? Of course not. When you're given that cast, whatever you put out is going to be entertaining. However, compared to the first 2 seasons, it's not even in the ballpark. Umbrella Academy Season 4 fell into the Netflix trap of rushed seasons and the catastrophe of joining a multiverse. But what's important to me is what you guys think, so leave your comments down below, like, share, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, thanks for watching.